Good morning. Welcome to 30 Days Pranayama Challenge. Today is day 16. One of my friends is a filmmaker, and she was looking at my pranayama videos and she said, "Too much backlight, change your position." So I hope this is a little bit better for seeing me. Today I want to talk about pranayama contraindications because I think that's something that doesn't get discussed enough, and I think it's important to really understand what you're getting into when you practice pranayama, and also for those of you who are teachers to know that pranayama sometimes can cause problems for people. So the other day, I was teaching my regular class that usually has something like 15 to 20 people in it. I teach one class a week on Tuesdays. And a woman came who's never been to my class before, and she said, "I've had a stroke, so I have some vestibular, some balance problems." And I said, "Okay, you should be fine, but I want you to be aware that we do a lot of breathing in this class, and if you feel any sense of dizziness or if you're feeling uncomfortable, please take care of yourself." And she said, "Sure." And halfway through the class, she was sitting on the side of the room, and I said, "What's going on?" And she said, "I'm feeling dizzy." And so I said, I set her up in a restorative pose. I said, "You can just relax and don't worry about your breath so much." But that was a clear indication that that practice was not appropriate for her. And somebody who had been dealing with some cardiovascular issues, obviously, or some cardiovascular issue, and it had ended up in her having a stroke, and so she had some problems in her system. And that's what you have to understand about pranayama is if there's anything going on, and it could be high blood pressure or any kind of heart issue. It could be asthma. It could be emphysema. It could be any other breathing issue, allergies, pregnancy. You have to be careful with these things because there are changes that happen in the system, and then when we introduce breathing practices, we may exacerbate a condition unknowingly. And here's the reason why. We can't know what somebody's doing when they're breathing. I mean, we can watch and see, it's very subtle, but we don't have the same kind of control that we do as yoga teachers when somebody's knee is not over their ankle, and you can make that correction easily. So people will over-breathe in classes for sure. They'll over-breathe when you start them with pranayama. I did it myself. I spent 2 weeks studying pranayama with one of my teachers, Gary Krafso. And during that time, numerous times I couldn't sleep. I'd be up all night because the pranayama had affected me. But it's not the pranayama's fault. The problem is the way that I was applying it, and I have a real type A personality, and I was I'm gonna, conquer this pranayama, and that is not the right attitude for pranayama at all. The attitude for pranayama has to be slow, mindful, subtle, and completely uncompetitive, no competitive approach. So that was something that I learned the hard way, But I think if we can approach our practice with a sense of curiosity and openness and interest, then the pranayama can be really powerful. So those are the main contraindications. Tomorrow we're going to get into some techniques, but be mindful, high blood pressure, any kind of cardio thing, any kind of lung thing, and pregnancy. You really want to be very, very mindful. Always less is more with pranayama. It's an amazing science. It's an amazing practice, but do less. So you don't have to have these kind of long ratios. That's why I started this challenge, by the way, because I was irritated at a workshop that I went to that there was so much emphasis on this sort of the longer your breath is, this is something really good. You should have these long ratios, and that wasn't said explicitly, but that was the message that was being given. So I thought that is so not that. It's so opposite of that. Your breath should always be very smooth. And if there's any kind of stuttering in the breath, or there's any kind of sense of the next breath I have to like breathe in deeply, or the next breath has to be shorter, that's telling you that you're pushing it, right? So never ever push your breath. The inhale should never be longer than your exhale. Your retention after the inhale should never be longer than your exhale, right? So you could do a breath like 5 counts in, 2 counts pause, 5 counts or 7 counts out, or 6 in, 2 pause, 8 out. Those are lovely ratios. 3, or 4, 2, 6. That's a nice ratio. So you can do ratios like that that are comfortable and make you feel soothed. So there's like in these ancient books, a lot of stuff behind me, but over here, like the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is it's like 700, 800 years old. There's conversation about sweating in pranayama, because some pranayama practices will make you sweat. But those practices were done one-on-one with a teacher or with the guru giving you advice in a kind of an ashram ascetic setting. So, to think about our modern life and what we need, we have different needs for the nervous system than what ancient people needed, particularly people living an ascetic lifestyle. It's just very different. Okay, so for practice today, I wanted to review. The first one we did was belly breathing. That's basically inhibiting the secondary respiratory musculature and letting the diaphragm move down. Belly breathing is great for many different pranayamas that we will talk about. And then the second breath is that we've discussed already is Dirgha Pranayama, where you breathe into the belly first, and then the lower ribs, and then the chest, right? So 3-part breath, inhale, 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 exhale is like sliding down the banister. And then the third breath we did is structural breath, and that's where you're inhaling and lifting the ribs up out of the hips, and usually with movement, and then exhale, contract, so the breath comes out. It goes up and out on the exhale. So I just wanted to review those 3 breaths. Somebody asked me if I had a longer course on structural breath, and I don't, but I do have a YouTube video where I demonstrated in a few different asanas. So I will definitely put that in the comments on Facebook. So thanks so much for watching today. Tomorrow we're going to get started with some ratios and see how that goes for you. I really appreciate your comments and your questions, so please keep those coming. This weekend, I have a workshop at the Embodiment Center here in Asheville called The Neurobiology of Embodiment, so you're welcome to join me for that. There's still a few spots left. Let me know if you're interested. Okay, thanks for being here. See you tomorrow. Namaste.